Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. When we last parted ways, I was working on getting our tri-lamb bamboo back and belly bow to full draw, or more like talking about getting it to full draw this week. And as you'll recall, I was experiencing some sounds as I was pulling it. We got as far as 23 inches, but I could hear the fibers starting to pull. So kind of like a crack that's starting to happen, but hadn't quite been perceivable or, any more identifiable beyond just hearing something. And so upon a little closer review, when I was working on the bow this week to try and get it to full draw, I discovered that I have a crack that is beginning right on the node of the lower limb right here. So the nodes are in fact the weak spot on bamboo, and that is why it naturally has a convex surface to it, so that it can help fortify that joint. Well, when we shave it flat, we do compromise that to some degree. And since this node, I guess, is working a little bit more into this section of the limb, and as I was trying to get more of the working limb out into this section, I discovered that I am starting to crack just a bit right here. You'll recall that I have, or I don't know if you've watched different videos or not, but in the past I've done some videos on repairs for cracks on back of limbs. I wrapped it with a linen thread to arrest that kind of crack. This is a little different deal. This crack is basically straight across the limb. So this is, if this fails, it's going to fail straight across the back, which makes it difficult for a wrap to really help it, because it's just going to separate the fibers of a wrap. And so we got to do a repair that is going to bridge this surface and keep everything flat to the back. Not only that, the bow's not done yet, so we may need to make some changes in terms of tiller, in scrapes on the belly side, or even thinning the limb or narrowing the limb on its edges. And so we need to get something that is a temporary fix. When I was working on the Egyptian Duoflex bow and was working to put in some deflex on the Ipe, and the Ipe was starting to give me the same sort of audible warnings, the fibers pulling apart. You could hear it audibly. This was our fix right here. Strapping tape. It is oriented fiberglass strands that run around the length of the tape. I am going to use this today for a temporary fix to at least get the bow to a finished state, and then switch over to a more permanent fix. All right, guys, here's our setup. Getting ready to string this up just to kind of show you what I'm dealing with in our tape over here. The offending area is right here. Might be a little difficult to perceive. Maybe you can kind of see how it's splitting on the edge right here. But I'm gonna go ahead and string this up right quick and give you a little better view of what we're dealing with. Okay, just strung her up. Here, it's a little easier to see it in the light, like this. You can see it separating right here, and if you could run your finger over it, you'd feel that the lift, and it's basically lifting straight across the limb, like I said. So the plan here, okay, is to get the strapping tape, and I'm going to show you how to apply it so that we get good linear coverage and still have a good purchase on the limb itself, okay? Because what can happen is we can't just put tape across it like this and call that good. It will not hold, right? I mean, that's just a patch that's going to loosen on its ends and the whole thing will still blow. And so we got to go about this in a particular manner, and I am going to go through that process now. So hang tight, I'm just going to unstring this thing again, and I will show you how to apply the tape. All right, I'm going to do my best to put this together without being in the way of the camera. All right, so I'm just pulling out a length of tape, fairly long. We'll want to go long here to really cover that and then some. And I guess I gotta really do my best to ensure that I don't do something to cause this to stick back on itself here. So here's the tape going right over our break here. Okay. This stuff is interesting in that it'll just tear. You know, I wanted to tear the tape, not just the fiberglass. So I guess I'm gonna have to go about this a little differently. All right, so just a blade here to kind of clean up the excess. All right, now this has got pretty good coverage for strapping tape. If you want to, and you're really worried, I guess you could go with 2 layers, but this particular bow it's a lightweight bow, so it's just not going to offer up that much strain in the end result here. Now, this far end, I had it curled back, which would probably be the better scenario to work with here, because I just cut this straight off. And so what I'm going to do is kind of work this back down the limb, or back down a little ways here, so that we can fold it back over itself. Here we go, it's trying to separate on me like it wouldn't do on the edge of the limb. It seems all too willing to do it on this portion of the limb. Okay, so just fold that back so I got a tab to work with here. All right. So we're not necessarily too concerned about the level of adhesion here, right? Because we already know there's going to be dust involved here. It's not going to get a very good adhesion. And so what we got to do is do something to help it maintain its contact to the bow, like this. And as we come across this side, we want to fold this back over here and incorporate that into the wrap. Okay, so that we wrap down over the tab that we had hanging off the edge on this side. All right, now this particular wrap, I will probably go through and wrap again to get it good and straight. But what that does is it's lipped over the top, or lipped back underneath, and this is going to prevent these strands from just slipping out from underneath our length here that is holding it tight to the limb. All right, so if you watch one more time, I'm going to come right up to this tab here. We're going to come tight to it, and I'm going to run into a little bit of trouble because the angle of the limb has made this complicated on me, and it actually wrapped the wrong direction. What I'll do, we'll just go for this again. And this time we're going to go ahead and fold this down and take our wrap this way. All right, so again, we've got we've got a wrap that's holding our length in place. All right, and so this section right through here is being held flat and in place by our two wraps on either end, and are going to hold this down. Since our crack is oriented perpendicular to the limb, we've got our reinforcements layered across parallel to the limb edges, or the limb direction. All right, so these will help hold down that crack, and we can now flex this section of the bow without, well, not necessarily without fear, but with the expectation that we have done what we can to try and arrest this. That having been said, and having gotten this far and taking a look at it, I am going to redo this and put, actually I'm just going to do it just like this. I'm going to put a second layer on here. So fold over these edges here. And I'm going to double up this length right here. I just want to make sure that I'm giving every opportunity to this bow to survive. Because I'm adverse to starting a bow and a build and putting it out there for you guys and not seeing it through to its end. So here's just that little extra piece of insurance, so to speak. And now if we decide as we're moving along here that we need to do any work on the limb here, we can go ahead and cut this off, do any adjustments that we want, and then reapply the patch and continue moving forward. And I realize that creates something of a I don't know, a roadblock to what it is you're trying to do, but it will keep your bow in one piece. All right, so there we go. Protecting that crack in a manner that we can continue to work on this bow and hopefully bring it to a finished state and then put something more permanent on. Okay, here it is strung, and if you can see it right there in the light. There's where it's trying to, you can see the ridge right here where it's trying to lift. And so I guess we're going to just see how formidable this tape is, and if this is going to be a real reliable type of option for us to get us through to a finished bow. I'm hoping that it will, because I really want to see this bow come to fruition, and this just gives us a unique opportunity to explore different ways of getting to a finished bow, even when you find yourself in a rather desperate situation. So, guys, I am going to cut this here. Stick with me for next week, and we'll take this repair to the mat. We'll find out if it is, in fact, going to give us the results we're looking for, or if we have put a little too much faith in some packaging tape here. So strapping tape to the rescue, maybe. We'll find out next week. Thanks for dropping by, and I'll see you then.